Hoorah! What a great day to be an American. Coming in hot with the Major Ed, Warrior for Freedom, Heart of a Lion podcast, brought to you by First American Title.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of the Major Ed Pulido, Heart of a Lion podcast. Say good morning, Major Ed.
Well, what a great day to be an American, and to all the listeners out there, it's going to be an incredible show highlighting one of my friends and special people that is in my life and has just come into my life. And I tell you what, she's an inspirational individual who also has sacrificed a lot, but is in the real estate world and certainly doing some incredible things to make an impact in our local community.
So today we're joined by April Stopka from First American Title.
First American Title.
I don't want to get that wrong. I want to make sure I get that right.
Yeah,
First
get that right.
American Title. Welcome to the podcast, April. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is April Stopka, and I have been with First American Title for almost 3 years now. I am a native to Oklahoma, born and raised. However, I did move for a small stint of 15 years to Missouri, and then was offered a position to move back to Oklahoma to come back to work for First American Title, where my title industry career had set off. And I currently run the commercial division, so I am the state escrow manager for the state of Oklahoma.
And you have a personal relationship with Major Ed, but a professional relationship as well, right?
Correct. That is correct. So Major Ed was blessed into my life here within the past few months. We brought him on as I call him our motivation. There's no motivation like Major Ed's.
Right.
It's impeccable, and I think that it's just it was truly meant to be. You are quite special, and you bring an energy unlike anyone. And that's very admirable. So we have become fast friends and colleagues, and I'm appreciative of his friendship.
Well, and I have to say, too, that I think that's an important thing to highlight, that our relationship also has a connection to the military. And then Ty, her significant other, is retired Highway Patrol. And it's interesting because I have a lot of my friends where I went to college, and all of them went on that tract of Highway Patrol. And, big shout out to my friend Ken Edmonds and Stoney Mathis, who's now the chief of Columbus. The chief of Columbus Police Department down there in Georgia. And it's interesting that it all kind of comes full circle. And so when we met, it was not only the connection to April, but also to Ty and his service to this state and wearing that uniform. And we support first responders. So for us, it's an easy take. But I think April would also talk a little bit about her military service, because it's a great asset that you have that really has built you. And for this show, it's also an educational show to let people know that at the end of the day, the sky's the limit, and serving your country in uniform can be very lucrative and important.
Absolutely. I jumped on that train. I mean, I think it was the popular thing to do when I was in high school. Everybody was joining the military. I knew that I had wanted to go to college to be an orthodontist, and I knew that was not going to be easy. And everybody talked about the GI Bill, so I decided to join the Army. That's where everybody was going, was to the Army, and I joined as a reservist. And I didn't even walk across my high school graduation stage. They took me at mid-semester, and I went, and it was a reality. It definitely was a reality thing that happened. I grew up probably a little spoiled. My dad was always really good about just handing over that card, and there wasn't ever really a no. And I went into the military, and as soon as I stepped off that bus into basic training, my entire life shifted. And I spent a lot of time scrubbing things and doing the push-ups and the runs. And honestly, I don't know if I would be where I am today if I had not received that structure that came along with serving. And of course, I have a great respect for anybody that is a veteran or that has served and has sacrificed so many things for this great nation.
Completely agree. So this will be the perfect time to say thank you for your service. And absolutely, every time I see you, sir, I thank you for your service as well. There's no doubt about it. And it takes service at all levels and in all areas for the people willing to serve in order to keep this great country free, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things with this podcast coming up on Veterans Day. It's our day. And I have to tell you that, for me, I celebrate, and I know April does too, every day's a Veterans Day. We always talk about our service and what we got from it was, and as April stated, the structure, the character, you have words like honor, duty, responsibility, courage. I mean, look, all those words are very important. But when you really look at it, it's those guiding principles of getting up in the morning, making your bed, making sure that, at the end of the day, if 5 o'clock hits the deal, in this profession, that's not a time to go home if you got to take care of business.
Got to handle business.
And, one of the things about First American Title is that they are very veteran focused and military friendly. And we even have a coin, and we also have just great other attributes that really complement our mission. And in our outstanding boss, Mary Ann.
Yes.
I mean, I think for this podcast, April, talk a little bit about Mary Ann, just because leadership's one of the things we talk about on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to highlight that from what you see in your perspective and why you want to follow someone like her.
Absolutely. There's not enough that can be said about Mary Ann. When she hired me, we had literally spoken over the phone. That was how our interview was. She was here. I was in Missouri. It was an instant connection. And we spoke for a few hours before she then called her boss. And we spoke again later that afternoon when they offered me the position to come back here to Oklahoma. She just has this grace about her. She's so poised. She's so intelligent. She just leads with a kindness, and she is the type of leader that makes you want to strive to be a better human.
Yes.
Not only within your work, but your home life, and you strive to make her proud. And there's so many other things that I'm probably just not even thinking of, but we could spend all day talking about Mary Ann's grace and her love.
One of the biggest elements of leadership is elevating others, right? Making them better, not just doing their job, but making them better people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And she does, and she sees those things in people, and she helps you grow to mature you for what's next to come.
With you having an official association with Major Ed, I've got to automatically assume, and you mentioned it, that you're very engaged in supporting veterans and those who've served in their real estate needs. So talk about some of those focuses that you have professionally for the firm.
With any transaction that we're going to be handling within the commercial division, if I am made known that it is veteran-based, we're going to make sure that we're looking at all the aspects. I wish I could say that there's a cut and dry, like I'm going to offer you so much off, but I'm going to look at each transaction because every transaction is different. And I want to make sure that I'm giving them the best discount or offering them the best service that I can, because it's not a one size fits all for every piece. So that's where I come into play with my team, is for them to then lean on me so I can review and then make that final determination on how we're going to serve those who have served for us.
But these transactions end up being long-term transactions. Real estate is not something, you come in, spend $5 and leave, right? So you're looking for the right kind of people. You're looking for people that are trustworthy, that are dependable, that are going to be able to make their payments, et cetera. And veterans, first responders, et cetera. These are the types of people that fit right into that category very often.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And there's so many facets. And when we're dealing with these types of transactions, we do have some that take a very long time, depending on what all the facets are that are beneath it. We do have some that come in that are quick. And, so we just have to look, are they dealing with cash flow? Is there a loan? What type of loan do they have? And where can we best benefit them?
Well, and I have a question on that, April, just kind of leading on, and I think just the current climate. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast today is for those out there listening, there is a climate that high interest rates and there is a lot of commercial building, though. What do you see from a trends perspective, or just from, in my words, checking out the battlefield in Oklahoma? What do you see, whether there's some strengths and whether there's some weaknesses? And I think it's important for the viewers to understand that, again, it's all about education, but also understanding where we're at today and where we could go tomorrow.
Right, absolutely. No, and that's very viable. And I'm going to lean on a little bit from some of the class that we were in last week for our CRE summit there at UCO, and where we were able to hear. So a lot of the people that we're dealing with, they are repeat clients that bring us their business. You're dealing with investors, people that have a lot of longevity within the business. So you're dealing with a lot of cash flow, people that don't have issues with making things happen, or if they are getting loans, they've been in the business for so long, they have enough to stand on, on their own 2 feet. And that interest rate doesn't bother them because they know that here in a few years, they're going to turn around and they're going to make something else happen. But when you're dealing with your new investors or people that are just now trying to get out there, like we had heard last week, what worked then isn't working now.
Yeah.
They can't make something happen now off of a 6 or 7% loan that they could have made work off of a 3%. So cash is king. And I hate to say that because that's just one of those, but
it's the reality of 2023.
It truly
right?
is. We personally have not seen any type of a drop in our business. As of right now, we're still holding firm with, what we were trending last year, even with all of the changes and the type of clientele that, we're dealing with. I mean, you see the apartments that are going up. We deal with a lot of, low income housing with, the bond loans and all the investors. I mean, developments. So, we're just still seeing, and this is the last quarter. This is commercial's busiest time of the year.
Here it comes.
So,
Got to get it done.
So we are
Well,
rocking
I didn't
and
know
rolling.
that, but
we are rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
So if I were to go into one of my girls and be like, hey, you got some extra time there.
Not this quarter. Yeah, I understand.
When all the offices are humming, too.
Yeah. First American is just a reputable company. It's an outstanding national corporation, and we're just going to keep doing things the way that we're doing. We don't have time to think about the slowing down because we're so busy treading ground and just still building up business as we're moving along.
In business, they say there's no perfect time, right?
Yeah.
Just find as good of a time possible and get started, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we all know interest rates are high and getting into commercial real estate could be tough. But that also means having the right partner is essential right now because things we can't control, like interest rates and availability, are high. So talk about what having the right partner, working with someone that when you go to find a partner, that they trust you as much as you trust them, and being able to, like you said earlier, find as many discounts and as many opportunities for them as possible to make something as viable as possible, because those rates aren't coming down anytime soon.
Yeah, I know from a business perspective on, our end, we're partnering as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're trusting us with their business and that we're going to give them, the best rates. Our clients have no issues with coming to us saying, oh, that seems a little high. Is there, something that you can do for us? And, the ladies will bring that to me and I evaluate and then, come back. I don't ever like to say the word no. I like to find a compromise. It's not all black and white. There are some, gray areas. We're not in the military right now.
But a big part of business is hearing no. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Right? It has to add up and make sense on paper and with the people involved.
Yeah. And, but from a business standpoint for, people that are just coming out there or, looking for, a partner. I'm not sure if I would have the best advice at that other than, make sure you're doing your research, make sure you're partnering with the right person. They're going to be evaluating you the same as you're evaluating them, finding what works. But I don't know if I have much more to add on that because I'm not on that side. So I don't know exactly what they're looking for. I mean, other than they're looking for somebody with cash that's got, the money or the stability to help back them up.
Well, and April, I think that I would also add something, and I think you've said it, but I want everyone to listen to that. It's important to have that relationship. And one of the things I've learned in my little time with us is these relationships are what create future opportunities. And they have to trust you because that's a lot. You're talking about millions of dollars being invested. And you got to, and I love what you do because she is, hey, we got to cross everything and make sure that everything's what we call dress right.
That's right. I was going to say that earlier.
But it's important. But I think the other thing too is highlight a little bit about your volunteer service because last week I got to experience something and I was grateful for it. Saw a lot of people I know that are in the commercial side of the business, but there's an association and you're a part of that. And maybe I think it'd be important for people to know that the association kind of drives the connection with everyone that's in the space.
Absolutely. So I volunteer for a few different organizations, and I currently sit on the board of directors, and it's for the Commercial Real Estate Summit, which is based out of everything that we do is out of UCO, and that is what it funds. And we put this program on every year where we have people come in and speak. We have sponsorships because this money is being used to help with scholarships for the young ladies and gentlemen that attend UCO and are in the real estate field. So they have college courses in connection to that. So we spend all year long looking for the perfect speakers and coming up with, the courses that are going to be taken, getting just all the fine line details worked out. And so I have to say that that's probably one of the organizations that is my most favorite to sit on because we're helping lift up these young individuals that did happen to wake up one day and say, I want to be in real estate when I grow up.
Like my daughter.
Yeah, right. And we want them to have the best education and the best preparation as possible, right?
So it's just a great opportunity, and I'm honored and truly blessed to be a part of that and to continue my relationship again with them next year on that. And then we've got a few other things. We've got our People First, committee at First American. I've been the chairman of the past 2 years. I'm going to pass that torch on to somebody else next year.
That sounds like a great committee to be on. People First committee.
Yeah.
That's a great committee.
That's our motto.
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, that's something that, we get together and we select so many things that we're going to do per each quarter. We have a Laundry of Love event where we collect donations throughout our company. We try to attend the event before school starts. And so this is where there are laundromats strategically around the city. We would then go and volunteer for people that don't have the money to do laundry. They can come in, they get to do their laundry for free up to, a certain amount that's been allocated. They're able to get dog food for, animals that they may not be able to feed. They get a free lunch. There are books and toys, just so many things that have been donated. So we're big advocates on that. Mental health. That we like to go at the end of the year to the Daily Living Center, and we go there and help, decorate ornaments.
We know Daily Living.
We're familiar with Daily Living Center.
So I mean, there are just so many things this year, and if you don't mind, I'd like to just spotlight on you for a minute. So within our organization, we have People First committees throughout the United States. So we submitted, and we happened to win. So we were able to get a little bit of money in connection to that. And so we turned around and I decided that there's no better organization to pass that along to than, our veterans,
Right.
because we need to be taking care of our veterans. It goes towards a great cause. So,
Certainly.
and I'll stop or I will talk all day long about trying to help people out.
Well, and I'm gonna ask you a question,
Okay.
Because we heard something kind of interesting last week, which actually was the highlight of one of the highlights, along with the students, because that's kind of what I gravitate to.
I know.
But we talked about AI.
Ah, yes.
It's
And
here.
what's your thought process? And then because it's in our business,
It
too,
is.
in our book of business.
It absolutely is. Everyone wants to focus on what could go wrong, which any piece of technology could go wrong, and it's a tool, right? And any tool can be used for good or used for nefarious activities, right? I can tell you from a business standpoint, from what I do, it's cutting the research time way down, and it's bringing possibilities forward as to we create a lot of content. We create podcasts, but we also do a lot of writing and a lot of explaining how to take an idea and make it a product or a business, or how to structure your business in ways that are good for tax advantages, or how to pay people, or how to stay legal and legitimate, all those things, right? Sometimes those concepts are very big concepts, big ideas, like starting a business. That's a 40,000 foot conversation. AI can help you with asking a couple of good prompts and explain it quickly and succinctly, and it's pulling all the information that's already out in the world together and kind of filtering through where people have rejected some of the bad ideas, and it really brings up some of the better ideas when it comes to trying to educate people or inform people or get them to understand big concepts. I think that's the best use of AI right now. And that's how we're using it. A lot of people say, where do I start with a business plan? Well, I can sit in a room and tell you, but if I need to write an article about it and I'm not sure who's reading it, I maybe need AI to kind of help me kind of really focus the 50 things into 5 things. The ones that over and over again people say consistently, these are the top 5 things. Yeah. Well, AI can understand and then go, well, here's the top 5 concepts you should be talking about. So there's good opportunities like that. Again, obviously, anyone can take a tool like that does good things and try to do nefarious things with it. I think at the same time, though, we're learning, because I'm working a lot with cybersecurity professionals and things like that. That good tool is learning what the people who are doing bad things are doing, and just as quick. Back in the day when a scam got on, it took us a while for people to understand, this is a scam. We shouldn't be, saying yes to this. Or now, as quick as someone comes up with a scam or something that's fake because of AI, the good guys are coming in with the AI going, well, we recognize that. And so there's good and bad of it. I think at the end of the day, as it, it's a tool. So the human beings behind it are most important, which also is why it's so important to work with people that are top professionals, people that you trust, that you can go to your office. It's great to work virtually, but to be able to come to an office locally, especially for like a national organization, but I can come to a local office in Oklahoma City or Edmond for an organization like yours. If I'm donating to a charity, like several of the organizations you're involved in, to be able to see the human beings behind it and not some email that looks really nice with some pictures that may be real, maybe not, and be able to do your own research, so that if you want to make a donation to a charity, if you want to do business with any professional organization, that it's real people and what they're promising you is real, and that it's not some slick fake AI propped up thing just to get your money, right? But it goes back to, we mentioned earlier, how relationships are so important in business, and how doing things in a community. I'm sure you have lots of competition in your space that offer the same services. So how do you set yourself apart? You do things in the community. You do things that real human beings value. And so someone can say, well, I have 3 options here, but I see maybe you're connected to Major Ed, and maybe I know him or trust him, or I see you're doing this thing in the community with the laundromats, and that hits me as a human being, as the type of people I want to do work with. So it's going to help business. There'll be some people do some bad stuff with it. But at the end of the day, if your core values are right, if it's people first, that's why those so cool, people first, and helping people and offering value and creating relationships, all of those time-tested things, all the things you learned in the military, all the things we learned as children, right, about how to treat people, the golden rule, all of that is still always going to be hugely impacting on business in a good way if you're good people doing good things. So
how did you see it when you? Did you
Well,
have any thought on that?
Well, I'll be quite honest. When we heard about, when we're moving to like, what was it, 6G and then all this stuff, I was a little scared for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I believe in, not to be not professional, but the gentleman sitting next to me was like, oh, I feel like I'm in a Terminator movie right now.
That's right.
And he's like, I feel in flashbacks. So, I think it's like with anything that's new, that we don't know a tremendous amount about. We're humans, and we take a little bit of a step back. We're a little bit hesitant until we're able to see how it's coming to fruition. I just had a lunch appointment with a fellow colleague that works in the industry, and we were actually talking about the AIG because she sits on the board with me. And she was like, I use AIG to a certain degree with my work because she has to prepare articles for the newspaper and things. And she's like, I can literally take a page and a half of all of my ideas and everything that I'm thinking. I source it in, and then it creates and puts all of what I'm thinking together for me. And then I have to spend about 30 minutes going back through and then editing it. And it just saves me all of that time and energy from having to write that entire paper myself.
That's exactly what we're doing, the same thing. We may have 6 different articles on the same concept, and then just be able to compare it to essentially every other article that's been publicly published and appreciated, and all of those things, again, filtered back to, and most of the times when I put a prompt in to write an AI article, I read it, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with almost every bit of this. This is what I would have said if I had taken a couple hours to write it. Sometimes I, put it in my own voice and try to, and you might make it like how it applies to Oklahoma City versus the world, right? But it's still a tool. I think in your industry, I'm assuming there's a ton of paperwork. There's a ton of just steps through the whole process, right?
Yeah.
And anything that for you frees up time is a good thing. So if you can compress, 14 minutes of paperwork down into 2 minutes, or 4 hours into 1 hour of using AI, that's more time you get to spend talking to the people and talking to your customers.
Absolutely.
And relating to them as human beings. I think that's ultimately the benefit of the tool, but we just got to watch out for those bad actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I guess this will just be an ongoing topic for discussion over the next few years.
But technology is supposed to free us up from the mundane so that we can connect better and relate better as human beings. And so hopefully our good actors in this are doing that and not trying to find ways to shortcut and take advantage of people.
Well, I think the other thing too is what I'm finding with it is the accuracy of information. Because there is a lot of information that's misinformation. So, and you take President Trump. I mean, I will tell you that, like it or dislike it, what he went through, and this isn't a political statement, it's an example of how all of this technology can also be utilized in a negative way. And he talked a lot about, the fake news. And when you really did your due diligence, you're like, well, that didn't make sense. So what I'm saying here is that's just an example of you need to do your own homework and don't always take everything for what it is, because that's where AI fails.
Right.
Is if you think that individual's telling you the right information, in reality, it's basically false.
Yeah, you shouldn't trust one source for anything, no matter if it's a human being or AI or one website or one news media outlet or something that you read on a piece of paper. First, does it make sense? And second, can I back that up with some collaboration and talking to other human beings you trust? And again, it goes back to the human being factor. Who do you trust, and who are you like, I've never heard of this person, or I don't know what this is, or that voice in the back of your head, this doesn't add up. Yeah. Typically is right, So you just got to follow those things.
And to spin off of that, there is a lot of fraud attempts in our industry. I mean, it's massive. I mean, we take a lot of classes over, fighting fraud. And I know that we've got the good people on the back end that are constantly trying to, keep up with the fraudsters, but, and I hate to give the bad guys any, credits, but I mean, these people are smart.
They're out there really trying hard to get away with it.
They're intelligent. They know what they're doing. And
it's unfortunate, isn't it? Do you ever think, like, if you would use your drive for good,
you can really accomplish some great things. So with this AI coming, it is a little scary, because that's just going to give them that much more of a leverage of having this intelligence that's already there as well, combined with theirs. So, I mean, I would imagine, though, that we've already got people that are on the back end trying to figure out what's next to come, and how are we going to defend ourselves against that.
What I want to comment is, how are leaders going to use AI? Because I'm telling you, what I saw the other day in the presentation, which was kind of enlightening, was the fact that we're talking about a robot talking to us. Okay. Now, if they refine that robot, and you don't know, and it's God bless Biden right now, and he looks like he's like 50 years old and all chipper, like, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? That's bad. But I think you got to look at it. That's what the first thing I thought about is, like, hey, they can make a Biden look like he's back to being 50, right?
Yeah, a little put spring in his step.
I know. I was like,
he'll walk up and down stairs again.
And that's where age comes from, where it's like, what's real and what's not. And that's what I'm saying is, it'll be interesting to see, because that's the first thing I thought about when we saw. Yeah. And it's a enhanced depository, but an enhanced Alexa. And I think Alexa's out the door.
Yeah.
Now I want them to create an AI of me, talking and selling stuff, right?
I don't think the AI still probably couldn't keep up with you.
No. We'll see.
So let's bring it back to human beings in a little bit.
Yeah.
So when the great people at First American said, "Hey, Major Ed, maybe we should be working together," what was it that made you think, yes, these are the people that I would like to associate with professionally and do business with them?
Well, I'm going to just kind of, I think the tone. You have to set the tone, and leadership does that. Yeah. And that was one of the things that I'm going to actually talk. I actually talked about on another podcast last week, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Tone is very important. It's a word that, doesn't sound all fluffy, but let me tell you what tone meant to me. When Mary Ann brought me in, she had the whole team there. So she set the tone for how the team operates. And the other thing that happens is Abby, who is just a young lady with a lot of talent, has to follow Mary Ann, because, you got to always have what I call I was an aide de camp to some generals, so I knew that I wasn't only just carrying coins, I better get smart about stuff too. And what I think, what Abby sent me was one of the reasons I asked. I said, what are our values? What's our mission?
That's a great question, yeah.
And she did send me those. And so I feel like that tone was set from the get-go of how to operate a business. And in this podcast, that's what it's all about, is no matter what you're doing, you need to operate with the highest of values, but also have the leadership principles that really matter. And to me, the tone of the discussion and the tone of us collaborating and finding out what everybody does. Look, it was overwhelming, but I knew that I left there knowing that these people have it going on, and now what can I bring to the table? And my gift is to be able to talk to people, communicate. At the event the other day, we saw a lot of people that we knew in the industry, but I knew them from other places. But that's the beauty of this, is that we're setting the tone for going in the right direction and providing the best service possible.
As we wrap up this episode, April, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, just once again, it's just such a pleasure to, have you on our team. When it, comes to, principles and core values, I think that I'm the first that always says, like, integrity. Yeah. Integrity is just everything. And Major Ed just brings so much. And, I'll kind of end with this. I just kind of laughed the other day with him. He was like, I know this person. I'm like, really, Major Ed? I would be surprised if you told me that you did not know someone. That's what I would be most surprised about. But Major Ed brings everything to the table and more. He stands for exactly, what we stand for. And maybe I'm a little partial because we've got that, military connection. But I mean, I'm just so proud to be able to serve and stand beside you. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, April, for coming on the podcast today, giving us a little bit of insight into First American and some of the things that you offer, the commercial real estate space, the work that you do with veterans and first responders and in the community. We had an interesting conversation about AI, what that means in moving forward in the future. And it still kind of goes back to being able to trust other people, right? And build relationships and all those time-honored values that we all know and understand. Correct. One last time, I'll thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Absolutely, we'll thank Major Ed for the service because I say it every time I see him. And like usual, every time, Ed, is it a great day to be an American?
It is a great day to be an American, and you're a great friend. So I appreciate you. And thank you, April, for
my pleasure.
Enlightening the viewers out there. And the good thing is that, we're just getting started.
Right.
And this is a business-oriented podcast that really highlights kind of the diversity of our work.
Absolutely.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode of the Major Ed Pulido Heart of a Lion podcast. We'll have future guests and future topics on future episodes. So hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a review, do all that. Tell a friend.
Yes.
Right? And make sure you follow Major Ed on social media. He posts great stuff on there. And check out the good people of First American Title too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of all of our veterans and first responders, the Major Ed Warrior for Freedom Heart of a Lion podcast brought to you by First American Title. We're here to make a difference because it's about mission first, people always, and making sure that we take care of our community. God bless the United States of America. Hoorah!